Our girl is destitute.
What conspiracy theory do you have?
You're the Feyre.
I'm Feyre. He hates Tamlin. He's also a bit of a petty bitch.
And yet, she decides, let me just shoot my shot and see it. I'm like, girl. All right, gloves off. Spoiler time.
Oh my God. Do you realize the level of acting we're going to have to do later in this book? Like, are you prepared?
No.
I literally was thinking about it earlier of like, we're going to have to do some like Oscar award-winning performances.
I don't.
Because we have to. We can't not. Like, we have to.
I think I'm going to puke every time having to pretend to like Tamlin.
Honestly, it's going to be like, wow.
I'm having a crisis.
Me too, because what I love is that, like, technically, we haven't even met him yet.
No.
So we have no, like, but, like, this is, I mean, I was thinking about this the other day. I'm just like, this is going to be so fucking insane when we get to, like, the points where we're, like, supposed to be falling in love with him.
Yes.
Okay, dude. So, I forgot how badass Feyre is.
Oh my God, yeah.
What happens? I mean, like, okay, obviously the way it ends, she's this fucking badass, like, high lady. But I feel like there's like something that happens with Tam, or like something, like, I don't know what it is, but like, I forget. Like, that's one of the biggest things that I wrote down was just like, I forgot. First of all, I forgot how bad it was. I forgot how far on death's door they were. Cause you kind of like, you remember it, but like, I don't know. And like, you know, Nesta, like, she goes back to the house and she's embarrassed to show the bed. Like, yes, like, there's all this stuff where you're like, oh, wow, yeah, they were really fucking poor. But I'm like so happy to be like reminded by this, because it's like, you know, Feyre and Cassian like bond over the fact that they both know what it's like when he sees that painting that she paints of like a body like wasting away. This is when the amount of times I read this book starts getting exposed. But anyway, like, you know, he comes and they like appreciate the painting together. Like, they share this weird moment. So it's like, I think it's really important for us to remember how bad it was. But fuck, I forgot how bad it was. And I forgot how fucking badass Feyre is. Like, holy shit.
I think the reason we forget, there's two reasons. At least I think I forgot. The first is that for most of the series, she's not a human. She is Fae, right?
Oh, this book's the only book she's human.
Yeah. Like, when you see what she's capable of as a human with no powers, you're like, holy shit. I mean, like, we haven't even gotten under the mountain yet.
That will be its own
Episodes. But then I think the other reason we forget is just how depressed she gets at the beginning of Mist and Fury. Like, she is just such a shell of who she was under that mountain when she's a human with her family fighting in the woods for her life. Like, you forget how badass she is because Tamlin emotionally castrates her.
Well, and honestly, she you know, there's a level of, there's almost like a level of responsibility I want us to put on Feyre as well, though, too, because she says it multiple times in these first 3 chapters. All she wants is a quiet house, paint, and food. She gets all of that, but all it does is make her life worse. And to be fair, she is completely changed by the time she gets that, right? Not only is she Fae by the time she, well, actually, no, she kind of gets that before a little bit, right? Like, in this book, she gets a little dash of that, and like she like kind of enjoys it. But there's also this element where she's kind of struggling, because she's like, I don't really know what to do with myself now that I have all these things. I don't really know what to do with myself now that blah blah. But it's like, all Feyre wanted was this like very particular life.
Yes.
And I think her striving so hard for that life, she breaks herself in the process to like get that. And you know me, I have so many issues with Tamlin. I am not giving Tam excuse, but it's just more the amount of times I've reading these books now. There's like a level of this where it's like, she kind of got what she wanted, but it's that classic thing that, like, we see in so many, pieces of literature or movies of, like, most of the time, by the time you actually get that big thing that you really wanted, you're not the same person anymore, and you don't want that anymore. And so I just while he emotionally castrates her, I think she becomes very blind to herself and her evolution.
Yes.
And so it's just like it's been this first 3 chapters is like very interesting because she says it like 3 times that all she wants is this quiet house where she can paint, where she has food.
Well, and, like, look, I completely agree with you, and, like, some of the onus does fall onto Feyre,
I mean,
absolutely.
I would say it's probably like a
Yeah,
80-20.
because I was gonna like, the one thing I will say is, like, I cannot blame Feyre for wanting that after everything she's been through
Oh,
as a human,
absolutely
and
not.
not just, like, the poverty, obviously the poverty stuff completely, but then the under the mountain stuff, it's like, yeah, after that, all I you know what it reminds me of? And this happens to me so much, and actually happened to me very much in COVID. So, like, I wasn't able to work during COVID because I have, like, health stuff. So, like, I wasn't able to go out, like, couldn't I work in film, so there's not a ton of, like, remote jobs, and I got so I wanted to be out in the world and I want to be doing, but I got comfortable in my little COVID bubble, right? And I feel like
I think it
that's
happened to a lot of people.
so
Yeah,
many people, and I feel like that's where Feyre I know we're getting so ahead of ourselves into Mist and Fury, but
we
that's where
really are.
Feyre, I feel, ends up landing at the beginning of that book. So it is interesting to see her at the beginning of this book, like, just her being in survival mode
Oh god,
in all the
dude.
books, I feel, kind of is where she thrives in a way, which
Yes,
is why
100.
I
Yeah,
I don't wanna get too much into it, but the 6th book, whatever it's gonna entail, is gonna be very interesting knowing where she ends up at the end of the 5th book.
totally,
But,
totally.
okay, I wanna talk about the family because I have a lot of thoughts on the
Oh,
family.
well, I'm actually this whole, like, wolf where, like, he didn't try to dodge the arrow as it went clean through his wide yellow eye.
Oh, I
It's
mean,
for Tamlin.
of course, like, knowing that, like, again,
It's for Tamlin.
this is my first reread, so, like, when I first read this,
This
obviously I
is
had no
your first
idea,
reread, yeah,
and now knowing, like, oh, Andreas, yeah, that's what you say, Andreas, Andreas?
on Andress?
Andres, you're right, Andres. He went out there knowing he was not just knowing, hoping in a way he was gonna die. Like, he was a sacrifice.
Yes, hoping. It's the weirdest fucking cursed sacrifice
So
situation.
weird. And I think that is one of the few places I am empathetic towards Tamlin is it's like he doesn't want to send his friends to die, but he has to in order to save his people, which is so again such a weird it explains a lot about him. The family though. Okay.
Yeah.
First off, the mom. Like,
Oh my god, so many mommy issues, so many mommy issues. Like, I literally wrote in my spoilers section, Ariel, I wrote mother, mother, mother.
it is so fucked up to make your youngest child, who's like 12, make that type of a vow. And yes, I know I said earlier it was so vague, but like also
Well,
like
and I mean, like, to just to, like, insert something really fast, do that thing that I do, is that this is before they got poor.
true.
So, Mama Archeron wasn't necessarily, because I think you did a good job of touching on that earlier, actually, of where you were kind of like, how Feyre maybe construed it later is maybe a little different but I do think it's important to, like, remember that, like, they were not poor and destitute yet when Mama made this.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, you're saying like she didn't necessarily mean like go out and hunt to make sure that they stay alive. She's just more like generally take care of them.
So there is a little bit of reprieve
You're
there
right. No, you're
for her.
so right.
But I still do agree
Yeah.
that having the youngest make a
Yeah.
vow to look over the
The
family
entire family.
is really fucking weird.
Because like, why wasn't it Nesta? And like, I think that does get kind of answered in Silver Flame of like, she knew Nesta had the ability to go out and like find a good husband, right? And I think she thought the same of Elaine. I think this is part of the reason why it's fucked up. I don't think she had the same faith in Feyre, honestly. And I just have issues with Mama Archeron for that, but I have more issues with Papa Archeron.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I literally wrote in my notes in all caps, he sucks. Like, I understand why why Nesta hates him. Like,
Yeah.
and I think he is kind of all of them, the entire family, but I think he is a huge reason why the theme of Mist and Fury, or one of the themes of Mist and Fury, is chosen family, because
Mm.
like Feyre will always love her family. She makes that abundantly clear throughout the series. And I don't think she ever says it, but she implies she doesn't always like her family, right?
Yeah.
Whereas her chosen family, the inner circle, the squad in Mist and Fury going forward, like, she loves and likes them. She constantly chooses them. She goes to bat for them in ways that, while she goes to bat obviously for her actual family, like, she goes to bat for the inner circle in a way where, like, she doesn't always have to. And I mean, I know, like, the queer themes that run throughout these books
Oh,
makes
it's
me
so
so
good.
happy, even though, like, obviously not all the inner circle are queer, only as far as we know one is, canonically at least. But yeah, I it just Papa Archeron really made it, like, I just forgotten how little effort he put into his family throughout the series, and it infuriated me. And
Oh
also,
god, it's yeah.
David and I were talking about this last night, of like, he doesn't really earn ever that redemptive arc, at least in my opinion, of, like, in ACOTAR coming in with the ships named after the girls.
Oh my god,
Like,
well, yeah, you and I were talking about
it
this
was you.
yesterday.
Yeah, I was talking to you. That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. See, okay, also, that's a hilarious moment that I want everyone to clock. How often Ariel can't remember if she was talking to me about it or if she was talking to David about it.
Truly.
This happens all the
Yep.
time.
All the time.
Like, all the time. Yeah,
Yeah.
you and I were talking about that, of just, like, I don't feel like he deserved, like, the redemption arc. Like, I actually completely understand Nesta in Silver
Yep.
Flames being like, "Okay, yeah, I'm sad he's dead, but, like, fuck that guy."
Yeah.
Like, and then feeling guilt, and then blah, blah, blah. Like,
Yes.
that's what you and I were talking about on the phone, was, like, it's so cool that, uh, Mama Mass was like, "I'm I'm going to write this, like, I'm gonna discuss this weird thing we have where, like, the minute someone dies, they're like a fucking saint." And
Yeah.
it's like, that's not. And, like, yes, did his actions help them win? 100%.
Obviously.
Absolutely. But you and I also talked about how, like, it feels crazy performative,
Yep.
of, like, let me name the boats after my daughters. Let me, and maybe I have a chip on my shoulder. I don't know. I have major daddy issues. So, like, who knows? But but still, it's just, like, I am happy that he was able to do something that really helped his daughters at the end of his life. Fucking rad. But I do not think that that erases all the other fucking shit where he let his, like, what? She had to have been like 13, 14 when she decided to go out into the woods.
Yes.
And then let your oldest, like, he clearly hated himself. Because they talk about how he never stands up to Nesta. He never says blah, 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 which to me are all these signs of someone who believes they deserve this punishment. They believe that they deserve all of this. And so I feel like he he believes that this, oh man, we should have talked about this in the first portion too. But he believes he deserves to be treated this way. So he just lets it happen. And it just shows such self-hatred.
This is the part, it's in chapter 2, page 13, that just sent me off on Papa Archeron. At the very top of the page, it says, Vera's talking about the first time she ever went hunting at, like, the age of, like, 13.
Oh my god.
She says he hadn't bothered to attempt to stand from his seat by the fire, hadn't bothered to look up from his wood carving. He just let me walk into those deadly, eerie woods that even the most seasoned hunters were wary of. what the actual fuck, Papa Archeron? Like, it's one thing to be like, look, I have a disability. Because hunting, that is something he obviously, as someone who lives with an invisible disability, like, I get it. Like, there are things like you just cannot do. It's not your
Can't
fault.
do.
No one was asking him to do that, though.
No.
She was just asking, hey, can you acknowledge that this whole scenario is fucked up? He wouldn't even look at her.
Right. No, I mean, like, you're right. Like, even in that moment, Feyre's not even really asking for him to, like, go get a job. She's literally
No.
like, just acknowledge what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And, like, honestly, the fact that he, like, makes these wood carvings, I'm like, could he not have been a woodworker?
Could he not sell
Could he
these?
not could he not have built some furniture for people? Like, homie, no one is asking you. Like, I'm so glad you phrase it in that way, Ariel, because it's like we're not sitting here being like, yeah, go run on your fucked up
No.
leg and do no one's saying that. Just figure something out,
Yes.
bro.
It's
Like,
it's why I feel, oh my god, the light bulb just went off in my head. I think that's why Elaine is his favorite daughter, because it's very similar to, like, Elaine, you're already gardening. Why don't you garden some vegetables or something? Like, they both are in
right.
they're stuck in their paralysis of, like, I think feeling either ashamed or in just hardcore denial of their scenario. Like, and instead of accepting the reality for what it is, which is something I actually think obviously Feyre does very well, but I think Nesta does well too. She doesn't have the best attitude about it, but she accepts the reality in the sense, and hear me out. Like, she goes, okay, well, we are no longer of high status. So what am I going to do? I'm going to go marry the woodcutter's son, Thomas Mandray, right? Like, because at the very least, what that does is it gets me out of this family into another family that could probably feed me, right?
Yeah.
Like, she does, to a degree, work with the reality that she is handed, not as well as Feyre does, but I mean, later on, when Feyre is taken by Tamlin, remember, the glamour doesn't work on her. What does she do?
Fucking Nesta is the only one who looks for
She
her.
looks for her. She goes to the fucking wall. She takes a 2-day journey. And, like, I know Papa and Elaine, they're glamored, right? But I think, honestly, I think that's kind of why the glamour doesn't work on her, is she is grounded in reality, whereas the other two are not. And I think, again, that's why I'll always defend Nesta.
Well, and now that we're in the spoiler
Yeah.
section, hey, spoiler reader, Nesta is my favorite.
Same.
Nesta is literally my favorite.
Same.
Nesta, lightweight, saved me personally. A Court of Silver Flames, like I said earlier, came right when I started being sober, and her whole self-hatred process. I know we'll get way more into it once we get to that book, but like, literally couldn't love her more. But it is so wild reading this first book because she's a fucking bitch.
Silver Flames, I think, holds such meaning for very different reasons in both of our lives. And that is, like, Corinne, Nesta is my favorite character. Um, Mist and Fury, honestly, I think they're tied for me as my favorite books in the ACOTAR series. Like, at first I think I told you Mist and Fury was, but, like, I realized I'm like, I can't really. I love Silver Flame so much. I think they have to be tied for me. Like,
Well, and I mean, I almost feel because how I tend to view it is that I tend to view it that ACOTAR is a trilogy.
yeah,
And then you have Frost and Starlight as this cute little, let's just hang out with our friends during the holidays. Like, when Sweet Ariel was reading it, she's like, I'm so nervous. Everything's like so calm. Like, I can't relax. And I told her, I'm like, that was one of the few times where I, like, quote unquote spoiled something for her. And that I was like, nothing happens. Just enjoy getting a little bit extra time with your friends. Um, and then Silver Flames is like, I literally feel like there's the trilogy with Feyre and Rhys, and then there's sort of these kind of like semi offshoot books. So it's like, that's why I view Silver Flames in like its own, it's like its own space.
I could be wrong about this. I believe SJM was contracted to make ACOTAR a trilogy originally, and then they said we want more books. So it makes
Okay, well, like
sense.
that, it does, because that's what it feels
Yeah.
like. Like, it feels very, you know, So yeah, like, to me, that's why it's like Silver Flames is its own
It's a
thing.
thing.
And then amongst the trilogy, uh, the second one is my favorite. And I think that's, I think it's probably like a lot of fucking people's favorites for very obvious
I
reasons.
mean, for one
Oh,
particular. Yeah.
well, that's also why in the non-spoiler section,
Yeah.
I kept bringing up how Feyre is like can find the beauty in the dark, can
Yes.
find the beauty in the grotesque.
Yes.
The fact that she was drawn to Isaac because she recognized the like darkness within him, like we're fucking getting the groundwork of her and Reese being
Yes.
mates. Like we are getting the groundwork of like cuz like Reese thinks he's a monster.
Yeah.
I mean his so like all the high lords, right? They all have an animal form, right? And Reese is like kind of sounds like it's like a big like it's like a dragon sort of kind of.
I don't okay, maybe I'm just forgetting. I don't I thought it was only Tamlin who has an animal form.
No, so they all have an animal
We just
form.
haven't seen.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, well, no, so it's like, because we talk about like he's are like we read about how like Reese like he get like scales happen like it's a whole transformation, like all the High
Right.
Lords have
Yeah.
like some kind of weird like animal form. Oh, I see what you mean though, because we say that Tamlin's he's a shapeshifter. We know he's no like yeah they all okay at this point. I'm calling in Google because I feel pretty confident about this, but
No, I feel like you're
but
right.
then why does it matter that he's a shapeshifter? Because then they all technically are. Yes, all the High Lords have ability to change it into animal forms.
Okay. Okay.
Anyway, so like Feyre has from the beginning we're getting groundwork. And I just didn't realize it started this early. That Feyre has this appreciation for the grotesque or what is considered a monster, what is considered quote unquote. Oh, right. For those who don't watch this video, I am doing intense quotation marks around my microphone of that, like what is considered stereotypically monstrous. She finds beauty. And I think that's a huge thing in the beginning.
Another thing I was so glad you brought up in the non-spoiler section that I think also sets up, in addition to that, about her and Reese and the importance of it is how much autonomy she has over her own body. Because things that Reese does with Feyre in this book and how much autonomy she has, and I, look. One thing you'll find out about me and Corinne is we're very hardcore feminists, intersectional feminists specifically, and
If that has not been blatantly obvious yet.
I I am a big defender of Reese in what he does with Feyre, and we find this all out in Mist and Fury, to be fair. Like, even the stuff with like the tattoos, right? Or not the tattoos, but the body paint when he paints her.
Oh, it is very purposeful.
Very purposeful
Yeah.
to show when you were drunk, nothing happened. Don't worry. I am trying to signal to I did nothing to you. And the only reason I even touched you is because if I didn't, you would be killed. Like, and it's a very fine line that he has to walk. And he is put in an impossible box, really. She would have been murdered if he didn't. Like, Amarantha wants to kill her. So, and also he has to keep up this ruse also to make sure everyone in Valaris doesn't get found out. Like, he is juggling a lot of
A
balls.
lot, a lot. He is
Yes.
juggling so much because you're right. Like he's trying to make sure that no one like sneaks into her prison cell and tries to kill her when she's under the mountain. Like he is protecting her and the paint. You're going to really enjoy reading Under the Mountain for the second time because there are so many little things that Mama Mass actually puts in there. And I love that you've already thought about the paint because that was one of the biggest things for me when I did my first reread of like, oh my God. Oh, it also just shows like the brilliance of her because when you first read that, the paint feels so invasive and
Yes.
so gross and so uncomfortable and blah, 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 blah. And then when you do the reread, you're like, wait a minute, but that's also how she knows that he didn't violate her.
Yes.
That's also how she knows his hands stayed on her arms and like right at her hip. Like she knows exactly where she was touched. He's also giving her, this may sound really weird, especially for me to say, he's giving her a little bit of a reprieve with the fairy
Yeah.
wine.
No, he
She's in a
is.
really awful place, and he's kind of like helping out our girl a little bit, which this is so funny. We're going to talk about all of this again. But it's just like I'm so glad you touched on the paint, because the paint for me when I did my first reread, I was like, "Holy shit. Mama Mass, you are a fucking genius. This is actually what a beautiful thing for him to have thought of to do. It's his little way of like letting her know. And while also bringing her out of the cell and doing this with her every night too, like he hates Tamlin. He's also a bit of a petty bitch, you know? And so, yeah, and so it's like he's doing that for that, and he's saving himself from Amarantha for a little bit. Like it's kind of a win-win.
Well, and going back to the fairy wine thing, like, he literally tells her, like, "I gave that to you because I did not want you to remember what you had to see during those nights." Like, we don't ever find out exactly, but whatever it is, it's bad. And so, like, he's saving her so much trauma. And so, like, I think what it comes down to for me is like, and I think this is where Sarah J. Maas like does so well in all of her series, is writing characters who have to survive within a specific set of circumstances. And
Mm,
yes, they're going to
mm.
make mistakes, but literally so does anyone when they're in scenarios like that. Like, any survival situation, you do not get the luxury of getting to pick and choose whatever you want. You're given very specific parameters, and a lot of the times those parameters fucking suck. And I think Reese did a really good job with the parameters he was given. I do want to skip back. Okay, so going back to like because like most of the stuff I have, actually, you know what? No, okay. I think we talked about the family enough. I forgot I'd written this. Um Feyre, I just wrote Feyre has big boss daddy energy. And here's what I mean about this. So I wrote down the quote on page 18 when she's talking about Nesta marrying Thomas Mandray. This is like the part where she's like,
Yeah.
"You're not
Oh
gonna marry
God.
him."
Yeah,
She
yeah, yeah.
says, "The day you want to marry someone worthy, I'll march up to his house and hand you over, but you're not going to marry Thomas." I'm sorry, but like, hello, daddy, Feyre. Like,
That's
she
actually very true.
no, she and
Yeah.
it goes back to like kind of what you were saying earlier in like the non-spoiler section of like she really just handles everything in this
Everything.
family. And she's the baby. Like, she's the baby of the
Yeah.
family, and it's kind of amazing to watch her do it. And I think it's like it's what sets her up to be such a good high lady. You know, it's actually really funny. Like,
Mm.
someone had posted about how they were really irked by how like disrespectful Feyre is when she becomes the high lady, like just like kind of marching in, and like she she's a human, 19-year-old human who like doesn't know a ton about the Fae culture, and she's coming up to all these high lords and just Fae in general who like have been around for hundreds of years and just kind of changing all their shit. And I'm like, I'm
Whoa.
sorry. Like, someone needed to, though. Like, there
Whoa.
needed to be some fucking
Yeah.
house cleaning. Like, all these no, I know.
Wow.
It really pissed me off. I'm like, these high lords literally have all been at each other's throats for like decades, if not centuries.
Centuries.
And like, I'm sorry. Someone needed to do it. Someone needed to
Well,
come in. Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. 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 Couldn't disagree more.
Exactly.
Because also, wow, wow, wow. I have so, whoa, my God. I feel like my head's about to explode. Because, wait, what?
I know.
No, fuck
I
off.
know.
All right. Because, like, in my mind, like, to me, that tells me more about you
Yeah.
than anything else. To me, that means you just want to keep electing the same people in our government, correct? You just want a bunch of old white guys still?
Yeah.
You don't want to change anything up? You don't need a new voice? What the fuck is that mentality?
Right.
That is beyond
Because
my understanding.
even though we like most of the High Lords, with the exception of Tamlin and like,
And what's his nuts?
oh,
Eris? No.
he's not High Lord.
Who's the
Oh,
dad? Baron?
Baron. Yes,
Baron?
yes. I mean, every one of them had their own issues, right? Like, Tarquin wasn't, trusting Reese for understandable reasons, but like
Poor
everything.
Tarquin.
I know, poor Tarquin. I do love Tarquin, but like I think especially after the Under the Mountain events, which let's not forget that happened for 50 years, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't old more.
60.
No, longer. Yeah, because it was a 7x7 curse. So that's
70.
no 50. I'm sorry, I can't do math. That's 49.
In my mind, I always thought it was like 100. but it was more that it's like Amarantha's like around for 100 years, but the under the mountain portion happens like 40 years in or 50 years in or something like yeah.
Either way, it's a long fucking time, which I know for Faye, that's not that long, but, like, it's a long time,
It's a long
right?
time.
The politics of everything changed after that because, you know, Feyre is the one who convinced Rhys to come out as his actual authentic self. Like,
Self.
I am not actually the asshole you think I am, right? And, like, I don't know, it really pissed me off, and so I'm like,
She's
"No."
the one who showed everyone Valeris.
Yes, and so that
Well, which, you know, they kinda, like, had
they had to,
to, like, convince people, but
it's I think for me, it goes back to, like, Feyre has big boss daddy energy of, like, of all the people you want coming in and kind of telling the High Lords, like, "We gotta clean this shit up and we gotta change shit around here," you want it to be Feyre. You want it to be Feyre.
well, there's just a lot of little things that Feyre does throughout the books that show, kind of how quickly she really starts, like, learning about this world and kind of, like, wanting to, like, figure things out, you know? Or, I mean, even simple things of, like, in the first book, how, like, she wants to save the children of the blessed from getting killed by these people, which is to me major leadership energy. Like, and then she's a human by herself and goes under the mountain.
Now, we could make the argument that she does have a savior complex, which she absolutely does,
She 100% does. But
but
I feel like in this world it's a good thing.
yes.
But it's even simple stuff of like when she, you know, when she really starts like realizing that she's depressed with Tamlin and realizes kind of all these things, like she asks, like, she wants to go on these quests for Rhys. She wants to do these things. So it's like, yes, it's a little bit of distracting yourself from your depression, but there's also like Feyre, she when she's not severely depressed, she does take action and she does like she does want to learn about certain things. And so I just feel like this, like, for instance, I mean, even in fucking this book, she does this little side note of letting us know that, like, she taught herself how to skin an animal, how to, like, do all this stuff. Because when she sees an issue, she realizes, like, I need to learn. This needs to be solved. I need to, like, blah, blah, blah. Which actually is funny because she's definitely not that way about reading. But
It's her one flaw, which, hey, girl gets at least one. So,
yeah.
now I
So
did wanna
that,
bring
yeah.
I did wanna bring one thing up, and then we probably should start wrapping up because, like, boy, have we gone
This is
on.
so long.
So going back to the mercenary in chapter 3, I
Hmm.
realized something a light bulb went off in my head
What
with this.
conspiracy theory do you have about this mercenary?
It's not as
I want everyone to start getting used to your theories,
it's
your
not a
conspiracy
conspiracy
theories.
theory, although there was a part of me that's like, could this mercenary be from Throne of Glass? But no, so the quote is Feyre says, "Someone once did the same for." Oh, I'm sorry. The mercenary says, "Someone once did the same for me and mine at a time when we needed it most. Figure it's time to repay what's due." And she's talking about, overpaying for the pelts. And I was like, "Is this why?" Actually, speaking of savior complexes, is this why Feyre goes above and beyond helping people because she feels like she owes this debt that, and I don't think it's entirely because, like, just to the mercenary, but like the mercenary kind of sets into motion in a way, like the events of like, hey, I'm gonna make sure you have enough to get by, and like kind of it's that pay it forward thing, right? Like I always think of like, like when you're in like line for like, fast food and people pay in front of you. Like, is that kind of what got Farah's wheels turning in her head of like, someone helped me, so I should help others, right? Was that the spark of it? You know?
Yeah, it's a thought. I mean, I definitely feel like Farah is someone who is driven by like responsibility,
Yes.
whether it's the vow, whether it's like whatever. But I feel like that's almost how she's like found purpose for herself is to like fulfill these things. So I mean, that's definitely an interesting it's definitely an interesting thought, but I also just feel like Feyre kind of has that classic main female character energy, which is like, and I feel like a lot of women feel this way, like we cannot stand watching powerful people pick on
The little people.
The little people. We cannot stand it. We cannot stand it. And so like there's but like I mean that's an interesting thought. Like I hadn't really thought about like I hadn't thought about how im- maybe like more important this mercenary character might be because I don't really feel like Mama Mass just like throws stuff in for like shits.
No, and that's not a character we ever see again.
No, we never see her again, ever. Like literally, I don't think we ever see her again. Unless I mean, I'll be really we'll see when we go through it if there's some side like character or like whatever. But yeah, no, I don't think we ever see her again. Um, and the one thing I wanted to bring up
Yeah.
too was it's always so fun to read about the dresser that Feyre paints
Yeah.
that has the flowers for Elaine,
Mhm.
the flames for Nesta, and then the night sky for Feyre. Like
I wonder, I mean,
that part makes me so happy to
oh,
reread.
I want because now that we have the first 5 books, I think this is if you've read all 5 books and you're on any sort of part of the internet that talks about ACOTAR, you probably know the common theory for ACOTAR 6 is gonna be that it's gonna be Elaine's book, right? And, obviously Feyre's night sky dresser is symbolic of her deep down knowing Reese is her mate, right?
Well, he shows her
That's right. That's right. And then the flames is it's a whatchamacallit, foreshadowing of Silver Flames, which is Nesta's book,
Queen of the Death.
Queen of Death. The flowers, obviously, Elaine is a gardener, but like I really wonder if it's gonna hint towards something else. This is not like a theory I'm gonna hang my hat on necessarily. I'm just gonna throw it out as a possibility. I actually like your theory a lot better. So everyone thinks there's this like if you don't already know, there's kind of a battle within the fandom of who Elaine is going to end up with. Is she going to end up with Lucian, who is her mate, right? Like we know this for a fact because of when she comes out of the cauldron. But we also know because of Reese's parents that mates aren't always meant to be together. Or is she going to end up with Az, who she clearly has a thing for, right? And he has a thing for her back.
Have you read the deleted chapters?
They're available?
I gotta send them to you. I gotta send them
Please,
to
for
you.
the love of God, do.
There's an As and Elaine chapter.
Is that where the
Yeah,
threesome
I got
chapter comes in? Because I've heard about this, like
no,
okay.
this chapter we've never seen the light of
I
day.
was
None of
gonna
us have
say.
ever seen it. And in my mind, I personally think the chapter is purely a flashback between Azriel, Cassian, and Mor.
Anyway, we're getting off track. My little theory is what if Elaine ends up with neither Lucian or Az, and she ends up realizing she's actually queer and ends up with more, which I would be delighted. She could still end up realizing she's queer because
Yeah.
I don't know. There's just some vibes. I'm not gonna lie for me.
No,
Like,
I love when you yesterday said the like cottagecore, like
yeah,
queer
lesbian, like,
kind
or
of princess
bisexual,
vibe. Like I was like, I'm so into that idea. Like
right?
I love that idea so much. It's so cute to
But
me.
I did like your theory that Moore and Emery end up together. I actually
Yeah,
stand that way more because I just love Emery so much.
I
Like,
know.
I love Emery.
I'm yeah, so that's my theory just because there's a lot of little moments in Silver Flames where not a lot. I think there's like two where Emery is clearly struck by Moore's beauty. Um and Emery even I think she like we'll figure it out when we get there, but like I'm pretty sure she actually even says like that's the most beautiful woman or Emery says something in Silver Flames that you're like, "Oh, okay, cool, she's queer." Like there's something that happens that you're like, and I don't know if it's like a vibe thing or if she actually says, I feel like she says something. But yeah,
I like that way better.
hardcore into that.
Either way, whoever Elaine ends up with, it's fine. I do wonder though if her dresser hints at I guess not even necessarily like who she ends up with because Nesta's doesn't really like Cassian doesn't have like the power of flame or anything. It's just like she has the power of flame.
Well, does he have are his siphons red? His siphons are red,
Oh, I thought they were blue.
as is are blue.
Oh, okay. Also, sorry, just a quick tangent because I said earlier we would say this, or I would say this in the spoiler section in regards to our partners of like who
Oh, yeah.
so David is
Yeah.
pure as. Like,
Jay
pure
David's pure
as.
Azrael, which is so funny because also David is, like, much like Azrael where, like, he seems like he's the sweetest man in the world. Um, I've only seen David angry, like, once or twice, maybe once, and it's it's scary because he is like, he is the one who would say, "Watch how you speak to my high lady." Like, he would fucking cut you, and it'd be terrifying because he's, like literally, he's like a cherub of a human.
All this to say is he's as. So, which I guess that makes me Elaine. Or more. I'd prefer to be more. I think you're more, personally. To me, you're more.
Thank you so much for saying that. I really, 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 really appreciate you saying that because I have always felt a little bit of a vibe with Mort.
You are so more.
Just like her energy and like how she is like with the boys
Yes.
and like just like how she just her energy and like how she kind of bounces around is like kind of a piece of shit, but like also kind of great. Um, and actually is like a lot more depressed than she is. Like there's so many things with more that I'm like, girl, 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 girl.
The second we were like, we really started to get more, I'm like, oh, this is just Corryn. Whereas like I wish I were more, but I'm definitely Amryn. So you know I'm Amryn. Which I love Amryn. Do not get me wrong. But like Amryn's a dark bitch.
Okay, wait, but that actually like kind of works weirdly because like
Where's the lie?
well not fully though, because Moore's like scared of Amarin,
That's so true.
and I am so not scared of you at all.
No.
In fact, the scarier you get, the more I'm like,
Yeah. Okay. If we're talking inner circle though, like I feel like I'm
yeah,
Amryn.
yeah.
Maybe a combo of like Amryn.
I would honestly say, like, I feel like you're a very weird dash of like all the Archeron sisters.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know what it is because there's elements of Feyre that I feel that you have.
Yeah. Yeah.
There is like the intensity and the fierce protectiveness, kind of like loyalty sort of aspect, like that is very much you. Where like, but then there's sort of this like kind of like sweet baby girl innocence that you have about things sometimes,
Yeah.
where the like, listeners, there's a lot of moments where I'll kind of be like, well, just to play devil's advocate, Ariel.
Yep. Yep.
I
Yeah.
say that to her all the time. So there's some like sweet baby girl moments that you have, but then you also definitely have some really terrifying. I don't find them terrifying, but like very intense. Um, if people cross Ariel, she is done with them. There is really no second chance.
No, no, no. There is. But if you do it again, then
So yeah, she will give like a second chance if you've proven that you've put in some work. She'll give you a second chance. She will not give
no.
thirds. That's really not where she goes. You are fiercely protective of those that you love.
I don't give second chances for the people who have hurt the ones I love. That's where I
Yes,
don't give second
that's where
chances.
exactly. That's where you draw the line. When
Yeah.
it's other people. For yourself, you'll do, but like you're a lot angrier than people know you are.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And that's where I feel like the Nesta vibes come in.
I will own it with my full self. I can be a resentful petty bitch sometimes.
But and I was about to say like, but your pettiness is always justified. And then I was like, yeah, okay. Says like your best friend of 13 years. Like, of course I'm gonna feel that way. Like, we're the friends where you like called me that you killed someone, and I'm like, all right, where do I pick you up?
Truly.
Like that's us. So
Yeah.
I'm not a great judge, but all of your pettiness is justified.
Thank you.
But that's why I feel like sometimes you're like the three of them, but also the mysteriousness of Amarin I get, because there is kind of this like weird like people who don't know you very well, like they think you're this very sweet like mystery.
Yeah. I've had people come up to me in almost this way, like everyone was very nice, but like I would get a little surprised of like there was almost like intimidation of like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm like, hi, hello, I'm so happy to meet you.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
they're
yeah,
like,
yeah.
what? And I'm like, I like meeting people. Like, I like making friends, you know? So, which is also to say, like, reach out to us, say hi. Like,
Yeah.
we love making friends, especially if
Yeah.
it's about talking about ACOTAR, you know?
Yeah. Like, if anything, Ariel and I are just really big weirdos, and we really love flying our freak flags. And I think that's also the thing about, I think, people who make movies. So Ariel said I'm in sound. I specifically do sound recording for film. I'm a boom operator. I hold the stick with the mic at the end.
And has the
Um,
guns to prove it. Like, oh my god,
yeah.
show some guns.
Uh,
Show some guns. Come
no,
on.
I'm not. I can't flex very
Look, are
well.
you kidding me? Like, look at that. Look at that.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
We have our own Cassie in here.
so, yeah, freak flags fly. So, like, also, like, people who make movies, like, we're all just a bunch of weirdos who, like, have really niche interests, which basically means we're always gonna love someone talking to us about something that, like, we're super interested in. So, like, talk to us. If you're about to come spread some hate,
Don't
ugh,
then.
put
But
that elsewhere. But if you're trying to just, like, nerd out with some chicks about some, like, fantasy shit, like, we are
we're
totally,
your people.
totally, totally here for it.
But thanks for hanging out with us. Like,
Thanks for hanging out.
as an avid podcast listener, I know it's like it's a big leap of faith to try a new one, especially
To
from
try a new
episode
one.
1. So,
Yeah.
thank you for joining us. Next week, as we said at the end of the non-spoiler section, we will be covering chapters 4 through 6. So, read that if you're reading along. I mean, obviously everyone here has already read it before, but if you want to read along again, read it. Um, and I love you. I'm so happy we're doing this. Like,
I'm so sorry. I just had something I just remembered
what?
that we have to say in the non-spoiler in the spoiler
Yeah.
section. My dear, dear friends, they mention Claire better. Did y'all know this? Did y'all know this?
The conniption I had over that. The conniption I had. Oh my god.
Ariel and I did not know this. Ariel warned me, and I still was not prepared for the emotional response I was going to have when Nesta was like, yeah, Claire better, blah, blah, blah. It's like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. Ugh. Baby girls and baby boys, I'm so sorry. Hold yourself tight. It's rough seeing her name written again in like an off. Ugh.
The way that Mama Mass just rips your heart out over and over and over, and we just keep coming back for more.
And this has actually kind of worked out great, because this is actually why our sign off is you're welcome and we're sorry. It came because I've been on the other side of Ariel texting me all of her emotional experiences while she's been reading all of the Maas stuff. And I think at one point it was after we'd already thought about doing the podcast, and she said something. Oh, because she's in Throne of Glass, and if those who have read Throne of Glass, and I'll try not to say anything because Ariel hasn't finished it yet, but it is the most emotionally traumatizing series that she has. 100%. You come out a completely changed person. At one point, I texted Ariel saying, "You're welcome and I'm sorry." And all of a sudden, we both were like, why is that like the perfect way to describe everything within the Mossverse?
Yep.
Of just like, you're welcome because it's some of the most incredible storytelling, but I'm sorry because you will have emotional trauma from these books. 100%.
So on that note,
On that note,
shall we say it together? You're
you're
welcome.
welcome.
And take two. Take
I
two.
actually think it's better when it's like,
Well,
you say, you know what I mean? Like, there's something funny about hearing it twice.
yeah. Or I'll say, you're welcome.
We're sorry.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.